You always use that active when defending.
I think it's like.
You always use that active when defending.
I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. And with an introduction like that, what more can I say, people? We have a special guest. We're blessed with the presence, the athletic man himself, the man who interviews Balogun, Arteta, all of these guys. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're not worthy, my guy. What are you saying?
Every time you do that, I get so embarrassed.
That's the whole point, bro.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I hope you're doing well. I hope everyone who's tuning in is doing well too on this Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, I mean, happy to be here and talk Arsenal.
Appreciate you for being tuned in, man. It must be a quite I wouldn't say quiet period, you know. You interviewed Balogun and that. I specifically haven't read that because I'm reading it with my fans at 3:10 after this stream. Yeah, man. Is it what's it like? The first question, actually unrelated. What's it like being a journalist where obviously game in, game out, you're in a mad world. There's this to do, there's that to do, and I don't want to say downtime because I know you've got bare things to do, but it's a bit of a dry period. Is it a time where you can kind of concentrate on more abstract pieces? Is it just a quiet period? What's it like?
Yeah, it's quite difficult to explain, I think, because I guess people would probably just assume, oh, international break, they're just going to do nothing. Whereas, yeah, as you say, you kind of get some time to work on some more kind of long-term ideas, abstract kind of pieces. One I'm working on at the minute, hopefully will come out in a couple of weeks' time, which I hope will go down well. You never know until it's actually out there. And yeah, also for me, I don't know, because I do some stuff on the women's game as well. They're obviously they're still playing during the international break anyway, so it's not really a break. It's just maybe the focus switches a little bit more than usual. So yeah, hopefully that's a decent kind of
man. You done well there. Obviously, again, if there's a certain YouTuber, commenter, I can't remember his name, but a few days ago I had a show with Matisse, and he said that he was doing journalism at uni and all these things and like tips, and it's just hit me with, you know, in the hope that he's out here with you, obviously. Doing what he's aspiring to do. Do you have any tips? Mine was have a YouTube channel as well as be, you know, think outside the box. Certain men don't have a YouTube channel. They should. Fair enough though. But what sort of excuse I don't know what excuse you got for that, because you're missing out on the treat, man. We're missing out.
Fair, like my mum, she's not in today, so she won't walk past the camera.
Big up Mumsy.
But she says that I should do more video stuff, and I maybe I should. I don't know.
Should, man.
But yeah, I guess what would my advice be? I guess whenever you have an idea about anything, just write it down. Like sometimes I have ideas when I'm literally just about to fall asleep, and I just got to put it in my notes app and stuff like that. And whether it's like
you will forget.
Yeah, whether it's just like something for a written piece or a video, just get it out there, basically. I think there's not really a difference between what you and me do, really.
Oh, hey, I ain't interviewed Balogun in that. Listen, I'd love to be in that. I'm trying to be like you, bro.
No, but I mean, like, in terms of just having ideas and bringing them to fruition, anyone can do that.
Fact.
So I think the big thing is just making sure you kind of document those ideas and then have somewhere to kind of bring them to fruition, really. So hopefully whoever sent that comment is listening, and hopefully that's kind of good advice. I never know whether I'm actually giving good advice, really.
Nah, man.
But
Anything you're
yeah,
giving is good advice, man. Because like you know, you're obviously aspiring to do big things. You've done big things, but once upon a time, you was probably in the same shoes as that individual. So
yeah,
you know, anything you shared, which you have, you know, it's invaluable, really. You know, that might just be what you've said. You might not think you've said anything, but that little comment might just spark the creative juices, man.
mm,
So to that individual out there, while I can't remember your name, you know what Art just said there, follow that, and obviously implement your own little things, and just keep testing yourself is what I would say. I'd say think inside the box, outside the box,
yeah.
around the box. Just find something and exploit it, really and truly, and what works for you. I can't lie though, man, I've picked the best time for you to come on, man, because you are someone that shares my love for beautiful football, for intricate football, for poetry and motion. It's a bit sad, but I'm sure
Yeah.
you've seen this. Mesut Ozil has confirmed he's retired from football. What's your thoughts on Mesut Ozil as a player in general? Obviously, time at Arsenal, and the fact that he's announced his retirement, man.
Yeah, I felt like this was a topic that was going to come up. Yeah, I think it's hard to put into words, really, because he's someone who I think for people of a certain generation was almost like just a kind of a step up from, again, I feel like we've spoken about this all the time, but that really early period of Arsenal at the Emirates, he was kind of that on steroids, really.
Wenger Ball
And
personified.
um,
Ended the
luck-
trophy drought.
and
Propaganda in motion.
luckily at the time, tickets were a lot easier to come by than they are this season. So like when he first joined, I would have been 15 and still in school. So I was a junior gunner, and me and my friends from school would just get the family enclosure tickets and just go to whatever games we kind of felt like. And
How long was you running that junior gunner stuff when you was obviously of age? Yeah, I had to. I know. Listen, I know how it gets. How long was
No,
you running?
I respectfully went up to Cannon Club and stuff. So, but yeah, I think you basically went and he was the show. I remember a game against Bournemouth where, again, the ball just comes to him and you're just thinking, rip this guy, and he just do it. And also, one thing I feel like when you're watching football, you're always kind of predicting what will happen next when you're watching football, and oftentimes you can guess which way the next pass is going to go. You can kind of predict what's going to happen next, but with him,
Right.
he so frequently did the unexpected and was often right in what he did as well. So yeah, it's quite a difficult one to kind of comprehend at the minute, because I think he's maybe one of the first players where it may just hit really differently after a week or so. But yeah, I'm glad, a privilege to be able to have watched him in the flesh so often during my, I guess, formative years, or when I was starting to kind of understand football a bit more. And I'm sure you probably feel the same.
Feel the same way, man. I think I was 18 when we signed Mesut Ozil. I was in Malia. I saw a newspaper. It said we're getting Di Maria, Benzema, and Ozil. I thought, this is nonsense. This paper talk. The next day, I'm seeing fans going mad. Deadline day, we signed Mesut Ozil. Obviously, I think a couple of days before that, we had a game, or maybe even the day before.
Yeah, it was the day before. I remember.
Yeah,
I was at that game.
Wenger was doing the Wenger stuff. It was lit. He was a madman, man. Like I can't lie. I've seen a lot of footballers. Obviously, I was privileged to have watched. You know, not all the time, but I've seen Henry with my own eyes, Dennis Bergkamp with my own eyes. I think when it's all said and done, we all know Ozil's a bit of an enigma. But when you look at him as a footballer and what he brought, especially when you watch games again, especially when you're live, very few players are better to have played for this football club. An absolute magician, a majestic number 10. There's no coincidence. We signed him and Santi Cazorla and these kind of men, and we ended our trophy drought, man. I mean, there's not much more I could say. I think Jose said it best. If you watch football, you might miss Ozil. If you watch Ozil, you might miss the game. And the man's got to say he's got eyes in the back of his head, vision. It's crazy. And I'm sure you would agree, well, apart from the class Norwegian, the best Norwegian international in the Prem, we don't really have these majestics number 8s and 10s and all of these sort of things anymore. Why do you think that is, anyways?
Well, this is something that's been on my mind for ages, and I may have like some thoughts that may come to light in, I don't know, a month, a couple months, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But for the purpose of this conversation, what I kind of see, like the comment from Gio says, obviously the kind of dying breed of the number 10 was,
how can I
guess,
assist you?
a theme for the past few years. We've seen obviously Ødegaard has maybe put that to rest in terms of Arsenal, because even though he doesn't play as a number 10, he's doing everything.
He's like an 8.5/10.2
yeah,
or something.
And I just think the big thing is you're not having as many footballers exploit their technical abilities.
Yeah.
A lot of football now has just become a bit rigid. Whereas with Özil, Cazorla, Kleb, Rosicky, Nasri, Arshavin, and I'm going to mention Arshavin at some point again later on.
This is propaganda.
Those guys were just a lot more freeform, I think. So yeah, I'm glad that Arsenal have some players who can kind of replicate that again now, because you're seeing, I guess, the team now, they're not really rigid in any way. It's all kind of free flowing. So
inspiring the next generation as well. You see it.
Definitely. So yeah, I think hopefully it's not a shortage that's going to go on for too long in terms of general football. But I think at Arsenal, they're kind of getting back to their roots of just having creators everywhere, basically.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a lot more pessimistic than you. I feel football works in cycles, same way three at the back. If you're older than us, probably in the 70s and 80s, and so you've seen many teams play three at the back. There was a second, maybe if I'm wrong, but Conte kind of brought that back into the English game, and some people still doing it, some are not. I think football works in periods, but I agree with what you're saying. I just feel football has become, it's more of a collective. It's not really the individual. It's more like it's almost like the two managers are playing PlayStation against each other, like a chess match. It's true, and that, along with, I feel, more emphasis on greater athleticism, pressing metrics, like kind of what you're saying. I think players are not encouraged to really leverage their technical levels, and as a big part of that is why you've seen, from a footballing sense, the majestic 10s, Ozil, Isco, not that Isco's with Ozil, can talk to him any day of the week, but they've kind of died. You kind of have to adapt like David Silva and Bernardo Silva, or you have to be like an Ødegaard, where there's elements of that majestic stuff. And to be fair, Ozil's pressing metrics were quite good at Arsenal. But when you look at, Martin Ødegaard's pressing metrics and things like that, he doesn't actually get praised for it. But he is essential to how Arsenal defending things. So I think that's that. Would you say who would you say was better for Arsenal? And I know it's a difficult one. Alexis Sanchez or Mesut Ozil?
Oh, that one's not really difficult for me. I was always in the Özil camp for that.
Why? Because some might say Alexis obviously had that match winner stuff. I think the best answer is Santi Cazorla, but yeah, man. Why would you say that?
For me, so again, this goes into this whole discussion, really, is the type of footballers you like to see. And I guess it does come down to the type of football you watched growing up. And I think just because of that list of players that I named earlier on, Özil was much more similar to them. So I just gravitated towards him a lot more. Obviously, I think you could say maybe Sanchez had more X factor than Özil. But for me, Özil was just a bit more romantic in the way he played football. And it's funny, like mentioning him with Ødegaard. I think Ødegaard, along with Smith Rowe, those two are the first players since Özil to make me just make noises when watching football. Like,
I think Trossard as well. Not to them, but he's kind of getting in there now as well.
Honestly, that Trossard guy is. I think
he's lit in it. He's lit. I knew he was good, but you're lit, man. You're lit, and he's become assist king of recent as well.
So that kind of trio there, Erdegaard, Smith Rowe, and Trossard. They're the kind of guys that I'm looking at now that kind of make me feel something when I'm watching the game. And I wouldn't say Alexis didn't give me that, but I just feel like I got a lot more from Özil because he did the unexpected so often.
Where do you think it went wrong for Ozil at Arsenal? Because obviously we all saw how it ended. Do you think he failed to adapt not just to Arsenal but the demands of the modern game? Do you feel at Arsenal he was kind of let down? Because I'm sure you'll remember, we signed him, then we're like, oh, we need a defensive mid, then we need a striker, then we need this, we need that. It's like we got all of them pieces. Suddenly Mesut Ozil's out the team. Really?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I think at certain points you're just saying give him a striker, and I think that 15-16 season obviously speaks out to everyone. When Arsenal finished second behind Leicester, and he had 19 assists like halfway through the season and just couldn't get that 20th one.
I remember the 0-0 against Southampton. I'm sure I was at that game. That was frustrating. Yeah. That's what a frustrating football match looked like, man.
Yeah, so there's things like that where there's things where it kind of worked against him timing wise, I think. But then also when you look, I guess, towards the back end of his Arsenal career, you probably would expect a bit more kind of a two-way kind of relationship to work. Obviously, personally, I think just the change in environment from Wenger to Emery was a big one.
Dramatic one.
Yeah, massive.
Emery had him playing out wide with Mkhitaryan. It's crazy.
So, yeah, I think that might have been maybe just too much too soon. And then from there, you didn't really see him, I guess, adapt, as you say before. I'd still think his last playing season, 1920, honestly, I remember that was kind of the first season I was covering Arsenal. And there were some games, Chelsea at home, Manchester United at home, Liverpool away.
There's so many games this guy
where I was still like just wowed by him. But as I said earlier, it's a two-way street, really. And I think you're seeing that with Erdegaard, where you're getting almost everything, the whole picture with him. And thankfully, Arsenal are thriving because of that.
What would you say went wrong for him? Because again, specifically Arteta, because fair enough, Emery, we don't need to go over that. But it looked like initially you and Arteta, he's your former teammate. You lot have made love. Pause. He was playing. He was have to. He was playing, and then it's like we woke up one day frozen out. Now Arteta's clearly been backed up. I don't know if it was getting to demands with the tactics. Obviously, Ozil's a bit of an enigma in terms of his attitude and things like all talisman. Maybe he didn't rein that in. Where is it for you with him and Arteta specifically?
Yeah, I haven't thought about this in ages. So my mind might be a bit foggy. But yeah, for me, I guess you saw after coming back from lockdown, I think the writing was on the wall, really, when he was on the bench, not coming on in games. And I guess it was just a bit of a sticky one because there was a lot. I think there was probably a lot of kind of off-field stuff as well as on-field things.
Yeah.
You remember, I think, the pay cuts, where I think Özil was the only player who didn't really want to go into that because he wanted, I guess, a proper explanation of where that money was going and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be kind of wanting to talk about him as a character and putting him down. But yeah, I think you can probably read between the lines that it wasn't really just about football, because if it was, he would have been playing every week, I think. And thankfully, Emile Smith Rowe was the guy who came in and filled that void at the number 10 position in that season where Özil wasn't playing. So, yeah, I think a lot of things you can kind of look back in hindsight and say, oh, someone was definitely right or someone was definitely wrong. But I think the most important thing is kind of just moving on from that and kind of finding the right way to move on. So thankfully, there were some internal solutions for Arsenal to go at.
What would you say if I had to ask you for one specific moment from Mesut Ozil at Arsenal?
Oh,
There's a lot still.
this is difficult. Do you have one?
I have a couple, you know. Actually, the best moment would probably be when we won the FA Cup final against Chelsea. I'm seeing him sprinting back and barging Hazard, actually, because people get onto him about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure you was there when he was there when we beat Bayern Munich. There's that moment. There's definitely a couple against Liverpool. Oh, do you know what? The goal Aubameyang scored against Leicester could be up there. I'm sure Mesut also played a key role. Sourcing. There's probably a bunch of others.
There's so many moments.
Free kick against Liverpool. I'm sure at the Emirates, he scored a free kick against Liverpool.
Yeah, he did. This is really difficult because I feel like if I pick one, I'm just going to be disrespecting so many other moments.
That's how exactly I feel. So I thought someone had to join me.
So, let me have a think.
Come on, man.
You know what? This is going to sound so weird and abstract, but there was I think a game against Hull in his second season, where the ball is coming to him and he's facing the goal, and the ball's coming from behind him, and he does this kind of pirouette in the air and he flicks it round the corner with his back heel, volleyed back heel. I think that might just stick out as a moment.
Was that the Emirates for Giroud?
No, that one was against Aston Villa, same season. But yeah, so those moments like that, I think, are things that I'd pick rather than like a goal or something like that, just because I think it typifies the class of him on the pitch.
Facts.
And also in those early years, the shoulder drops as well were disgusting.
The shoulder drops, the reverse passes, the flicks.
So yeah, there's a lot.
I refuse to shoot. I'm just waving. You know,
there's a lot to grab, but I'll go with that.
The Ludegret's goal as well. The Ludegret's one as well.
Yeah.
That's probably his iconic one. The kind of shooting it into the ground thing. Mesut's a legend, man. My only gripe with Mesut Ozil is that we didn't really see it at high levels more consistently, and we didn't really see the Real Madrid Mesut Ozil. And probably for me, you know, a bit like Pogba with Man United, when you sign these kind of creme de la creme players, that's because the rest of the squad / starting 11, the other pieces or part of the engine are well oiled and they're working. I don't quite think we had that when we signed Mesut Ozil. I somewhat always think, looking back in hindsight, right player, wrong time, even though it's not a coincidence. And I will keep saying this because it's propaganda. He signed, he helped us end this trophy drought, innit? You can't look back. 3 FA Cup trophies. Mesut Ozil's a bad boy footballer. Even the whole run in the FA Cup final, man, the run to the final, a bit like Gnabry, people forget